Knew all the animations that we had to make, we knew every single animation, what dialogue it synced up with, we knew, our flowcharts by heart, we knew our scripts by heart. So when we got to the motion capture shoot, it was just like go, 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 go. We tested all our features beforehand. A feature is just kind of, usually a feature is something that's going to require an engineer to work on or a dev to work on. So we had, features like his fur changing color. We had sort of like wind blowing through his fur. We had him taking pictures, and so all these features we ran them past our devs first to make sure that we can actually do them. And they did a few tests, and they said yes to this and to that. And then, as I mentioned, we did loads of user testing in actually in our studio, which was great. So I just want to show you guys really quickly. I mean, I'm not going to say anything tremendous, but if there's anyone out there interested in animation, so these are some of the tools that we have. So we had a really fast importer. That's just this is Maya. We're just able to bring the raw motion capture data. It would go straight onto the character skeleton. Like the import was really, really fast, and then we're just kind of able to overlay the animation using the and we used layers in Maya. We have something called the pose library, which I think is kind of a default. But our tech artists made all these tools for us, which is great. So one of the big things that Flight Industry was really interested in is hand animation, because their puppets don't, like Elmo can't move his hands like this, so they really wanted us to add lots and lots of finger animation. And so we had like a whole library of different poses, so we could easily switch between them, and you could create a pose and share it with another animator. It was great. So that's just some of our storyboards. In terms of our planning, everything was storyboarded. We had animatics. We set up our animation logics and scripts, beforehand, and we worked really closely with Sesame on this project to come up with the best ideas to entertain children. Just because they're the experts in that department, and we got some great feedback from them. This is just talking about the features again. I think I went through that. So what I wanted to show you was a user test video. So what we did was we had kids come into the studio, and even you can see that there's an animatic there in the corner. So we were able to test our animatics to make sure that the interactivity was working, that the child was reacting the way that we wanted them to react. And what's interesting about this is that we found if you ask the child and you say, wave, the child would go like this. And it wasn't picking up on our feed. So you'd be there like this, and people just go, wave, and nothing's happening, and they're getting frustrated. And so we were able to sort of like test that and see what the problem was. And then in one of the builds, what the engineers did was they kind of, instead of this being a wave, it was like as soon as you lifted up your hand, that would be recognized as a wave. So I'll just show you.
You play some music with me? This is a maracas. It makes an awesome sound when I wave it like this. Here, catch.
Gotcha.
This is my guitar. Now, wave your hand to play your maracas, and I'll play along with you.
That's the way that thing.
Your maracas sounds awesome. Let's play. Wait. That's pretty cool. We played some great music together. The rule of the game is wave. See you later.
So the great thing thing about that was, we were just able to react so quickly, because we all, we had these sort of, it was like spine. We had these, as the user test was happening, we had like these little screens open on our desk, so we could say, oh, that worked, oh, it didn't work, and we were just able to fix it like right away on the fly, which is great. So these are just some pictures from the shoot. That's my Big Bird, and I was able to get into the Jim Henson Company, and the only thing they let me take a picture of was this draw of eyes. So this is, I just wanted to show you a little bit what the motion capture shoot looked like. So there's 3 pictures under there. You can kind of see the tops of their heads. So there are 3 characters in the show: a mirror, so the child can see themselves, in the mirror. Cooper, and then this little camera that takes photographs. So I'm not going to play the whole thing. So we recorded his voice as well.
Oh my god.
So he's doing the last dance of the show.
Nice move! Keep it up!
It's made a nightclub.
He was awesome. He did this for like 8 hours straight, where he was filming everybody like this. So,
Epic.
here's another user test. So in this user test, we're actually now, we have the motion capture back, we've started cleaning it up, and we're slowly filtering it into the build. So now we're just, this is just a constant process. So here we've got 2 kids, because we wanted to see how the feed would pick up 2 skeleton. Yeah, there are actually 2 big bugs in this, which we found. Oh yes, it is. Yes, that is.
Now we totally look like a picture taking bean. Then where's your hat then? That's a good black. That one Gordon. That one Elmo. That one Big Ruth. Say, hey! Hey! You're the Julian. You gotta take that right now. Get into it. Okay? Jump, and I'll take a picture of you in the air. Jump! Jump! Cheese! Cheese!
Just jump.
Wow, you are an amazing jumper. And guess what? Jump is the move of the day. And that means we get to jump with all of our Sesame Street friends for all fall.
Jump all over Sesame Street.
Oh. Looky. Oh, it's a little front page.
Look at. The white on it. You have it too. The white on it. No, it's fine. Bring me back.
So, the two big bugs there were, he can take up to 3 photographs, and they jumped once, and all the 3 photographs came on, so you could see that they were a little bit confused, because they were like, jump, and all of a sudden these photographs started coming on, so that was an error in the code that was causing that. And the last thing was,
Semicolon.
it was supposed to be a static photograph on the magazine, and it was picking up the connect feed. And the funny thing was, the person who was running the user test, she thought that was great. Oh my god, they couldn't see themselves on the, it was disappearing. And I was like, oh no, that was an error. Gotta fix it. So, the last thing that I wanted to show you guys was just sort of a short compilation of what Cooper finally looked like, with the animations and the rendering and the fur, etc. And also just, some of the things, there's some juggling in there, and And that's the kind of stuff that we sort of bring to do a lot of overlay and.
Hello there. I'm Cooper. Welcome to Sesame Street. It's time for the big show. Let's do this. Yeah. Wave that maraca. Yeah. We're rocking now. Sesame Street was brought to you today by the letter of the day, M. And Sesame Street was also brought to you today by the number of the day, 10. And the move of the day, wave. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. Sometimes I get a little carried away with my solos. Fantastic. And now let's see the photo of the day. It's me wearing a mud mask. That is not awesome at all.
Well, that's it, guys. If you've got any questions, let me know.
I think just to sort of bracket that while somebody thinks of any questions, it's worth noticing we were sort of obviously written down as developing for Expos. Every single step of that production process mirrors the production process of a AAA game. There was all the development of tools, the animatics, motion capture. Motion capture is heavily used now in games. All of it. So I think, you know, that's a very, very good example of how you can create something completely novel using exactly almost pretty standard techniques, but with a powerful console. So let's give you a few seconds. Are there any questions? Thank you. Oh, no.
Yeah. What software is it you use for your animation?
We use Maya exclusively.
Do you have any preference other than mine? Like what other than you use?
I'm a Maya fan, crazy, 100%.
I was just going to ask about the new Kinect and how much more fidelity that would give animation. What are you going to do with the new system?
What we've announced publicly is certain things. Obviously, we know things that we can't speak about. But, we've announced it can read your heartbeat at, I think it's 3 meters, 6 feet, something like that. So it's something that could, you know, theoretically take emotional states and build them into the games and things. So we could take account of how you're feeling while you're playing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing, in short. It's much more accurate. It is, I can't talk about it until next week, but it is much better. Much better. It's incredibly accurate. Some of you who've seen previews of things will know that it has finger fidelity now. The previous Kinect tends to measure the skeleton to here. But we can now go down to hands and some of the fingers, so we can actually get you to control things like that. Which doesn't sound like much, but if you're, you know, doing this or doing that on a motorbike, it gives you much more option for controlling what you're doing. And yeah, we really can't say much more. I don't know what we've said publicly. That's there's a whole PR campaign if we say too much. But it's much better, is the answer, and you will see some amazing things over the next couple of years with that Kinect, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean every major AAA title pretty much has a writer. Often they're quite well-known writers, increasingly. Which was the
Stampede.
There's a series based on Tom Clancy stuff where they got Tom Clancy to write. Sorry, I've gone blank. Yeah. Now that's an example of a famous writer being involved, but actually I know of several people who are very successful writers, maybe not
Tom Clancy
successful, who are actually making a nice living, thank you very much, writing for games. Now I'm not so much sure with AAA titles how much writing you do, but they do create the scenarios and work out the stories and dialogue. And dialogue, you know, there's a lot of dialogue in modern games. Yeah. No, I think there's increasing opportunities, and I think certainly when you see hybrids like that, you start to see opportunities for writers springing up, because that, I don't know, is that television or is it a game? I don't know. Yeah. No, but the point is, that's clearly written. Yeah. So the answer is yes. There are plenty of opportunities for writers. It's quite hard to get into them. The internships we offer, just to stress, next year will be between years 2 and 3 of degree courses, so they've been fixed into the Microsoft system. We don't do ad hoc internships. But there's no reason why you can't approach studio people with your portfolio. You know, that's what LinkedIn's for. Sorry, there's a question for Carla.
There's a very good reason for that. It would have taken up too much rendering time, and we didn't have the memory to support it.
So it's worth knowing there are technical barriers, and that's one of them. You're still working to a schedule with any game or any piece of content, and so sometimes you have to make decisions to drop things. You know, you just, with the best will in the world, want this really cool feature, just haven't got the time or the money. And it just goes. And it would have made the game maybe 100% better, but nobody knows. You know, you still end up with something incredibly good at the end of it. So, you know, question whether you need it in the end. But tool sets and rendering time and all that sort of stuff are very difficult to manage, as Carl will tell you in a managing role.
Very good.
Any other questions? Well, hope you enjoyed the rather impromptu version of our talk. That's the battery going as well. One of it. There you go, timing. Thank you.